Okay, so this is a quick review of the flows that we have been practicing this month. It is the 5 elements flow easy routine. And in tomorrow's class, I will not be providing as many vocal cues on how to move. Instead, I will be providing vocal cues for a meditation, cues for a color visualization for healing energy, as well as emotional transformations. So if you missed the last couple of classes, this video is a great way to catch up. So let's start with our stance. Feet about shoulder width apart. Mine are a little bit wider. I do have some wide shoulders. So feet shoulder width apart. Knees are soft. They're not bent and they're not locked. They're just soft. Tailbone is in a neutral position with tailbone pointing towards the earth. It's not tucked under and it's not flared back. I'll show you from the side. So if you tuck your tailbone under, you're going to feel a lot of contraction in your abdominal area and a stretch here in the lower back. That's not what we're looking for. And if you flare your tailbone back, kind of like a ducktail, you're going to feel a stretch in the abdominal area and a lot of contraction and tension here in the lower back. That's not what we're looking for either. What we want is neutral, soft, relaxed, a very neutral position. So not tucked, not flared back, neutral. You can play with that for a moment if you wish, and just notice the difference in the sensations and where your body is when it feels relaxed. Okay, so feet planted on the ground, knees are soft, tailbone is in a neutral position. We then invite the crown of the head to float gently up towards the sky. So it's not pushing the head up. Again, that creates a lot of tension, but it's also not slumped down. It's that in-between Goldilocks spot where you just gently float the crown of the head up towards the sky, gently lengthening the spine. And then to start, we're going to bring our hands out in front of us. Notice my arms and elbows and hands are nice and soft, relaxed and rounded. There's a little bit of space in the armpit, about as much as if you were holding an egg, perhaps. So we're not doing a lot of space. That creates a lot of tension. But we're also not squishing the arms next to the body because that cuts off circulation. The blood flow, lymphatic flow, nerve impulses, energy. So we want just a little bit of space to keep that energy flowing. Again, hands are soft and relaxed. So for the 5 elements, or actually let's just take a moment and notice what this feels like to be in this position. Close your eyes. Inhale and exhale through the nose. Great. Now in all of the flowing movements, we inhale and exhale through the nose. And this first movement is called Buddha holds up the earth. It's for the mental element, and the associated organ is the lungs. So as we inhale, what we're going to do is we're going to float the hands up. So we're going to inhale, float the hands up, and the palms are going to rotate to face the lungs. As we continue to inhale, we're going to continue to rotate the palms up to face the sky. Now in this top of the movement, notice that my arms and elbows are soft and rounded. My shoulders are soft and relaxed. And if you want to in this movement, you can gently look up towards the sky. Now you can keep your head in a neutral position and just lift the eyes up, or you can gently tilt the head up. If you choose to tilt the head up, I just want to point out that we do not want to tilt the head so far up that it creates a lot of tension in the back of your head. You want to just do a gentle tilt. And if you want to play with that for a moment, notice that as you tilt the head too far back, gravity starts pulling on that back of the skull, and it creates a lot of tension in the neck and shoulders. But as you come up, that tension is released. So in the flowing movements, we want to keep a nice and relaxed state within our body. So if you do look up, just gently. Also to note, if anyone has osteoporosis, then you don't want to tilt way far back like that because that puts a lot of pressure on the spine when the gravity starts pulling on the back of the skull. And for people with bone density challenges, it can actually cause spinal fractures, something as simple as tilting the head back. So we want to, anyone who has those conditions, you want to be sure to check with your doctor or your therapist before doing any of these movements. And for everyone else, we still don't want to create a lot of tension. So just a gentle looking up. So we're in that top of the movement. I'm going to gently look up. Again, if you want, you can keep your head forward or in that neutral position, not forward, and just look the eyes up. And then when we get to the top, we're going to pause the breath just for a moment, and then we're going to exhale. And as we exhale, we're going to float the hands down. The palms are going to rotate towards the lungs, and then continue to rotate back to that starting position with the palms facing up. So let's do that continuously without all of my interruptions. So we're going to inhale, float the arms up, palms towards the lungs. Continue to rotate the palms up towards the sky. Pause the breath, exhale down, palms rotate towards the lungs. And then they continue to rotate so that they're face up in that starting position. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Excellent. That was Buddha holds up the earth for the metal element and the lungs. Metal collects water, so the next movement is the water element for the kidneys. The move is called the fountain. So with this one, we're going to bend our knees slightly, and we're going to hinge at the hips, so we get a little bit of a hinge in the waist. Not the waist, but the hips. So I bend the knees slightly, hinge at the hips. Notice my spine is still in that neutral position. And then our arms are going to hang out in front of us. So they're soft and relaxed, hanging there out in front of us. Rotate the hands so that the backs of the hands are facing each other. They're not touching, they're just hanging there, and the backs of the hands are facing each other. And then as we inhale, we're going to roll up one vertebrae at a time and float the hands up. And the hands come up to right about where the collarbone is. And at that point, we'll drop the elbows, and that allows the hands to just kind of float out to the sides as we exhale. And then we go back to the starting position. So bend the knees, hinge at the hips, spiral the arms so the backs of the hands are facing each other. And then we inhale as we roll up, one vertebrae at a time, coming up to that collarbone, and then relax the elbows, and the arms just gradually, naturally float out. So we inhale up, drop the elbows, and exhale down. This will probably feel pretty rigid and stiff at first. That's normal. Once your body gets the muscle memory, it's easier to relax into it. And that's when you start to develop that water-like undulation in the spine. Excellent. The fountain, water element for the kidneys. Water grows wood. So next, we're going to go into the wood element, and it's called Tree Sways in the Wind is the movement. It's for the liver. The liver is on your right side. This is my right side, but in your video, it's going to be the opposite. Or when you're watching the video, it's going to be the opposite side. So this is my right. Your liver would be over here. This is my left, but you're right. Okay, so tree sways in the wind. Starting position, knees are soft, not bent. Arms are soft in front of us. They're slightly rounded. Hands are soft and rounded and relaxed. So we're going to turn the hips, and the hands just follow. So we turn the hips to one side, and as we inhale, we're going to float the hands up all the way up to the crown. And at the top, we'll pause the breath just for a moment as we allow the hips to unwind and come back to center. And then we'll exhale and float the arms down. Pause the breath as you turn the hips. Inhale as you float the arms up all the way up to the crown. And then pause the breath as you come back to center. And I'm going to pause for a moment here to show you. The fingertips are rounded and pointed towards the crown of my head. They're not touching, they're just kind of floating there up above. And you'll notice that my elbows and arms are soft and rounded. My shoulders are soft and relaxed. So I came back to center, and now I'm going to exhale and allow the arms to just gently float down. Let's do a couple more. Turn the hips, inhale up, all the way up to the crown. Pause the breath as you come back to center, and exhale as you float the hands down. Pause the breath as you turn the hips. Inhale as you float the arms up to the crown. Pause the breath as you come to center. Exhale down. Let's do one more each side. Turn the hips. Inhale up. Come back to center. Exhale down. Turn the hips. Inhale up. Come back to center. Exhale down. Excellent. I want to take a moment to point out one other safety thing with our knees. Our knees are soft during this movement, and when we turn, it's just a gentle turn. We don't want to turn so far that we're putting tension in the body. So it's a gentle turn, and how far that is depends on your range of movement. And we just want to keep note that when we do turn, we're not turning so far that we're putting pressure on this knee. You want to make sure that you only turn so far that is comfortable for the knee. There should be no pressure or strain in any of these movements. Okay, so wood, that was the wood element. Tree sways in the wind for the liver. Next, wood generates fire. So that is for the heart and the pericardium. The pericardium being the fluid-filled sac that surrounds the heart. And the movement for that is called cloudy hands. So let's start with our hands up in this relaxed position. And I'm just going to kind of bend over to show you. The movement doesn't involve this kind of bending. But I just want to show you that the arms and elbows are still rounded and soft. The hands are soft. Wrists are soft. And the hands are right about heart height. Shoulders and neck are soft and relaxed. So to start this move, so the knees are soft, they're not bent, and they're not locked, they're just soft. We're going to lower one hand. I'm lowering my left, which is your right. And when we do this movement, this hand is going to follow us. We don't move the hand. It just follows as we move the hips. And we just want to kind of think of this hand as floating here. If there was a lake in front of us, then it would just kind of skim across the water. Okay? And with this hand that is up, it's about heart height. You can kind of think of it as protecting the heart. So we start the movement by shifting the weight to one side, and then we turn the hips. I'm going to my right, you go to your left, and then we float the hands so that the hand that was down is now up. The hand that was up is now down. So now I'm going to shift the weight to my left, your right. So you shift to your right, and then we turn the hips, float the hands. This is a very methodical movement in that we shift, and then we turn the weight, and then we float the hands. So shift the weight, turn the hips. I said that wrong a moment ago. And then float the hands. Shift the weight, turn the hips, float the hands. On this one, if you want, you can synchronize the breath by inhaling in one direction and exhaling in the other direction, or just allow the body to breathe as it feels natural to do so. We do inhale and exhale through the nose in all flowing movements. And this one, I tend to feel very stiff and rigid when I'm first describing it. But then as we get into it, it's easier to relax into the flow. And just kind of allow the body, the muscle memory to take over. In my mind, I turn the attention to the sensations of movement, allowing the movement to be my meditation. Let's do one more. Shift the weight, turn the hips, float the hands. Okay, one more on this other side. Shift the weight, turn the hips, float the hands, and then we come back to center. One other thing I want to point out is that as we're shifting the weight on this movement, notice that we try to keep the body level as we shift. So we're shifting our weight, notice my shoulders stay level. This mirrors the imagery of a calm ocean or a calm lake, right? The surface is very calm. And also, when you do it this way, you can feel the strength and the power in your legs as you do the shifting. It's very common for people to do a little bebopping as they shift like this. And that's what I did at first. That is not the correct way to do that. This mimics more of a rough ocean. If you know the waves on an ocean during a storm, it's they bebop up and down, very rough and wavy. That's not what we're going for in a flowing meditation. We want the calm. From side to side. Okay, so you might have to practice that for a while. If you want, you can practice the shifting and then add the hands, or vice versa, whatever works for you. So water element. No, I'm sorry, that was the fire element. That was cloudy hands. Fire element, that will burn the wood back down into the earth. The materials of wood after being burned becomes part of the earth. And so the earth element is for the spleen. The spleen is on your left side, and the movement is called pebble in the pond. So with this one, we are going to get a little up and down action with our legs. And that's going to simulate a pump, a little pumping action, as if we're pumping the energy from the earth up through our bodies and into our spleen and stomach area. So we start the move by bending our knees a little bit, hinging at the hips, and our palms are in front of us, face down. As we exhale, we're going to float the palms out in kind of a circular motion. And then as we inhale, we're going to rotate the palms a little bit. And then we're going to stand tall as we draw the palms into our center. Let's do that again. We're going to bend the knees, hinge at the hips, float the palms out as we exhale. And then inhale, rotate the palms, and stand tall. Okay, let's try that again. Bend the knees, hinge at the hips, float the palms out. Inhale, stand tall. Exhale, float the palms out. Inhale, stand tall. Exhale, float the palms out. Inhale, stand tall. And just notice what that feels like, the movement and the sensations within your body. You'll feel the pumping action in your legs. Exhale out. Inhale as you stand tall. Excellent. So we've gone through the 5 elements and their various flows. Next, what we end with is called the triple warmer, and pulling down the heavens is the movement for that. So the triple warmer is an invisible organ in traditional Chinese medicine. It's an invisible organ that regulates the fluid flow between the organs, the fluid flow and the communication between organs. Because the communication that takes place among the organs is through the fluids, the different neurotransmitters and nutrients that pass through the fluids. And in modern medicine, a few years ago, they discovered a new organ, which they call this interstitium. They never saw this in the past because they used to only study cadavers, which had all the fluids had been drained from. Well, in modern, more updated technology, they're able to scan bodies while we're still alive. And because of that, they were able to see that we have all of these fluid-filled sacs around all of our organs, and that these fluid-filled sacs are all connected. And it's the newest organ that has been discovered, and it's called the interstitium. I'm not saying that that is the same as the triple warmer from traditional Chinese medicine, but I find it interesting that there's that correlation there. So again, the triple warmer is the organ. The movement is called pulling down the heavens. And this movement is to harmonize the energy and communication among all the organs and throughout the body. The movement starts with an inhale. As we inhale, we're going to float the arms up. Palms are facing the sky, and they come up overhead. And at the top of the inhale, we pause the breath for a moment. And as we exhale, we float the palms down. The palms are facing the body as if they are combing or smoothing out all of the energy that we just worked with. And we pause for just a moment at the bottom, and then we inhale up. Exhale down. Smoothing and combing out all of the energy we worked with, gathering any excess energy and storing it in our lower dantian. Our lower dantian is our energy reservoir. Exhaling down. Let's do one more. Inhale up. Exhale down, palms facing the body, smoothing out the energy, gathering any excess energy and storing it here in our lower dantian, our navel. This is the energy reservoir where we like to gather all of our energy. Any excess energy, we gather that back into our lower dantian at the end of practice. Excellent. So that was a quick review of each of the flowing movements for the 5 elements, along with the triple warmer, pulling down the heavens. In class tomorrow, I'll do a few vocal cues on movement, but not a lot, because we want to get into the color visualizations for healing energy and emotional transformations. So I'm very excited that you're coming to class tomorrow, and I look forward to seeing you. Have a great evening.